But is it actually as affordable as people say? Or are there hidden costs no one talks about? Let's break it down. In this video, I'm stacking up Warner Robins against Atlanta and Savannah to see which city gives you the most bang for your buck. We'll break down home prices, rent, transportation, utilities, and everyday costs. And stick around, because at the end, I'll tell you whether Warner Robins is truly Georgia's best deal, or if another city might be the smarter move. Let's get into it. Let's start with the bigger picture. How does Warner Robins stack up in terms of overall cost of living? Well, the cost of living index here in Warner Robins is at 91. That's 9% below the national average and a whopping 10% lower than Georgia's state average of 101. Your money goes further here. In Savannah, we do have an index of 96, 5 to 6% more expensive than Warner Robins. In Atlanta, well, the cost of living index is at 107, a whopping 17% more expensive and even higher than the national average. So right out of the gate, Warner Robins stands out as one of Georgia's most affordable cities. But let's get into what really matters: housing costs. Housing is usually your biggest expense, so let's see why Warner Robins is turning heads. The median home price in Warner Robins is sitting at $235,000 as of early 2025. Home values are rising fast here. Over the last couple of years, we were sitting at $175,000, which now we're literally $60,000 more expensive than just a few years ago. But when we look at Atlanta, the median home price is at around $395,000 plus. Ouch. That's a massive difference. When we look at Savannah, we're looking at $340,000 and still $105,000 more expensive than Warner Robins when it comes to housing. When we take a look at the Georgia state average, which is at $320,000, that means Warner Robins is a whopping 26% cheaper than the state norm and 30% below the national median of $338,100. But now let's take a look at rent prices, because not everyone is purchasing a home. So if we take a 2-bedroom apartment in consideration, well, in Warner Robins, the average rent price for such an apartment is at around $1,200 per month. While in Atlanta, you're gonna look at $1,800 plus for the same apartment. That's 50% higher than here in Warner Robins. And if we look at Savannah, it's a little lower at $1,500 a month, but it's still $300 a month more than Warner Robins. And when we look at a national scale, the national average rent price for such a 2-bedroom apartment is at around $1,475. Well, Warner Robins still saves you around $275 a month compared to the national average. Bottom line, whether you're buying or renting, Warner Robins delivers serious savings compared to Georgia's bigger cities and compared to the national average. So housing is a steal, but what about everyday living cost? Here's what you need to know. When it comes to utilities, the average in Warner Robins is around $160 per month for an apartment. And that's about 5% higher than the national average, mainly due to the hot Georgia summers and excessive AC usage. When we look at groceries though, we are 4% cheaper than the national average with a cost index of 96. Expect to spend around $350 a month for one person on average versus $375 a month in Atlanta. If we take a look at transportation, well, there's not much transportation, but we can consider the gas price averages. And here in Warner Robins, a gallon of gas averages around $3.20 as of February 2025. No real public, as mentioned, so owning a car is essential here. Costs are 5 to 7% above the national average. That's about $1,000 per year in car expenses, more than somewhere else. Now let's compare one really important part, which is healthcare. And here in Warner Robins, the cost of healthcare is 8% below the national average and 10 to 12% cheaper than in cities like Atlanta. If you think about it, here in Warner Robins, the average cost for basic care per year is around $400, while in Atlanta it's around $450 per year for basic care per person. That doesn't sound like much, but in the end, $50 is $50. So while housing is super affordable in Warner Robins, utilities and transportation can nudge costs up a little bit. But overall, you're still coming out ahead. Let's break it down. Warner Robins, Atlanta, or Savannah. Here's the showdown. Looking at Warner Robins, we do have, number one, affordable homes with a median home price of $235,000, which is way lower than the other two and the national average, and the average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment sitting at around $1,200 per month. And then we got the cost of living overall is 9% below the national average, and it's 10% below the Georgia state average. Then we do have the military job hub and a strong, super strong sense of community. A little bit negative though is the limited nightlife and entertainment options in Warner Robins, and higher summer utility bills because it gets really, really hot down here. When we look at Atlanta, we do have the pros of endless job opportunities and entertainment, which definitely is clear as day because Atlanta is so much bigger. And then we do have the big city energy and diversity. When it comes to home prices though, it's very expensive, with a median home price of $395,000 plus. That is a whopping $160,000 more expensive than here in Warner Robins for the same house. Overall cost of living also is 7% above the national average. And don't get me started with traffic because it's a nightmare driving to Atlanta. If we take a look at beautiful Savannah, and if you haven't been there, you should definitely visit. We got 2 pros, and one pro is the coastal charm, the culture, and the food. It's amazing out there. And another pro is actually that it's more affordable than Atlanta, and quite a lot. For the same house, the median home price is around $55,000 lower than Atlanta. But there are also some negatives. One of them is that Savannah is still 45% pricier than Warner Robins, and the tourism spikes living costs like crazy out there. So if you're looking for affordability, space, and laid-back lifestyle, Warner Robins is tough to beat. But if you need big city excitement, Atlanta or Savannah might be calling your name. So is Warner Robins the best city in Georgia for affordability? If you want low housing costs, a solid job market, and a strong military community, it's a no-brainer. But if you're after big city excitement, you might lean towards Atlanta or Savannah instead. What do you think? Would you move to Warner Robins, or is there another Georgia city on your radar? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or moving to Warner Robins and PCSing to Robins Air Force Base, or sadly leave us here and move away, I can help. Check out my other videos right here about relocation and what it really is like to live here in Warner Robins. Hit the like and subscribe. 90% of you watching my videos are not subscribed to the channel, and it doesn't cost anything and would help the channel out tremendously to create videos like that. I'll see you on the next one.